I think I had the idea when I had that horn sample there, the rave horns, sorry. There's two different horns, the rave horns, these ones. When I put that in there and I put them with the live horns, I was like, this is going to sound really good with an MC on, and if it sounded like it was in a rave, you know, like and GQ was like the obvious choice, just because he's like, I don't know, he's just got the best voice for it. And so I called him out. I said, look, can you come to London and record some vocals over this track? He's like, yeah, no problem. So we recorded at the Hospital Records studio in South East London. And yeah, we did the same thing that we do when I'm recording my instruments, and vocals is the same thing. I'll just literally take the track down there and let it loop around, especially with an MC as well. You're not going to like sit down and write lyrics for something like that and go, oh, this is what I want. You know, sometimes there's a time and a place, but for someone like that, you set the mic up and you just let them go and you just put it on a loop and you just do it over and over, like just let him freestyle and do different things, because, you know, you never know, like it's always better to have too much than too little. And they might do that amazing. I've, especially with singers as well, sometimes at the end of like a track, I'll just say, look, can you just ad-lib some stuff for like 10, 15 minutes? Actually, they don't like that. That's what I'm aiming for, 10 minutes. You know, and they're like, oh, do I have to do it? Yeah, keep going. Because you know, like sometimes you find that killer ad-lib and that makes the whole thing. It's like you're almost creating your own little sample pack of vocals. So that's one thing, like even when you feel like you've got it, just push them that little bit more. I mean, you know, you're usually paying a session fee for it, so you might as well like get everything you need. Good case in point, I did a track with General Levy about 7 years ago, and that was an experience, I'll tell you that. He come into the studio and I was like, do you want to hear the track? He's like, no, just put the headphones on. I'm ready to go straight away. I'm like, okay. So I pressed play and he was like doing all his high pitched like squeals and, you know, like, and like, he was like sweating profusely within 30 seconds. Like he killed it, like the performance, but I wasn't ready for that. But like, again, we did the same thing. We recorded loads. And like the other day, the track was released like 6-7 years ago, but I thought about it, I thought, I've got about at least 5 other tunes worth of General Levy vocals on my hard drive. I need to like go back through them. The other night I was going back through them, I was like, start a new tune with it. So, you know, you never know when those things are gonna like repay themselves, even like 10 years later. So yeah, I got GQ to do a load of vocals, and the main, I just got him to freestyle a load of stuff, and one of the main little hooks he did was this, where he just said, and I chopped that up and put it into a pattern. If you can hear, like I've got reverb on all these vocals, yeah, like a little bit of a highlight. I think I may have actually even bounced this vocal down with reverb on, just because I was trying to make it sound like it was in a rave. Actually, yeah, it was bounced with reverb, but I've put more on afterwards as well. Yeah, it's probably got like too much reverb, but again, you're trying to make it sound like it's in a rave and it's in a cavernous space. And then again, it was just like sorting through all these samples. Again, it just takes a long time. I don't know quite what I was going to do with them. I just knew that I had loads of good vocals, and it's sorting it all out. And I remember putting this vocal, that part, into my MPC and chopping the vocal into different pads, and then just came up with this this pattern, this. And that's like the basis, along with the horns, that's like the main part of the track, and everything sort of follows that basically. You can see I'm using a bit of limiting on the vocals as well. Actually, maybe I'm not there. What did I do? So this is another one of my real like favorite plugins. So who's got UAD system? Has anyone got UAD? Okay, so you're the rich guys, yeah? No, if you don't know about UAD, it's a system. This is my UAD satellite and my UAD Apollo. And what it does is it runs plugins exclusively on their system, but they are some of the best plugins out there. So don't get me wrong, there's like great native plugins out there as well, but this plugin, this is called the Massenburg MDW. This is my favorite EQ plugin in the box. Like it's almost up there with the hardware that it's models, and it's like I've like the Fab Filter Q2 is good, and there's lots of good EQs, but this one just works for me. Like you can use this on a master. It's that clean. So yeah, this is my favorite EQ, and I think I'm taking out a load of bottom end here. Yeah, some little brightening here as well. You're probably not going to hear it on these monitors, but just little things like that just made it cut through the mix a little bit more. Yeah, GQ was a bit upset with me the first time I played this, actually. Well, not upset, but he was a bit bemused because he did that first section and he knew that to himself as one lyric, and then I shoehorned the other lyric into the other end. To me, that makes total sense. Like it sounds fine, right? But to him, he was used to doing. It didn't make sense for him to do it. But again, that come from like just recording loads of vocals and going, right, that's a good 8-bar. That's a good 8-bar. Let's see what mixes together.
Hey, yo, it's that big head honcho banging on my chest like a silverback from Congo. Yo, make space.
I was listening to this last night. I was like, that vocal sounds like just pretty distorted, but there was a reason for it, that within the track, you know, when you're soloing and stuff, it can sound clean as anything, but when it's in the mix, you'll lose it. So with this vocal here, if I take all the plugins off,
straight up and down, pound for pound, sound of the cute by the surround.
It's too dynamic. It's not sitting in the mix. So yeah, I'm limiting that. I've got a Camel Fat as well. That's quite good for vocals as well. The compressor on the Camel Fat, it's like a really dirty compressor. I always feel a bit guilty after using that, but like it you know, again, like I say, I'm sort of like, when I heard that last night, I was like, did I really like distort that vocal? But in the mix, it sounds.
Hey, yo, it's that big head honcho banging on my chest like a silverback from Congo. Yo, make space up in the room because you're.
And if I take all the plugins off and readjust the volume.
Hey, yo, it's that big head honcho banging on my chest like a silverback from Congo.
It's not sitting in the same way, and sometimes you need like multiple layers of like compression. Like when I recorded them, I was compressing it. When I was editing it, I'd probably compressed it because it sounds fine on its own. But in the track, you need even more processing. I mean, that's quite extreme. All the effects I've got in it, but I've got a micro shift as well. I don't know. Anyone use Sound Toys plugins here? Yeah, they're good. They're pretty good. This was one of my favorite ones, the micro shift. And that's always good for vocals. It's like a vocal widener plugin. So, yeah, I mean, a single vocal on its own, not double tracked, it generally needs a lot of effects on it to even just sound like normal to our ears. I mean, when we hear like pop songs or just tracks on the radio, the amount of processing that's just going on a single vocal is, you take it for granted. So this is like a really good thing after compression and limiting. Micro shift to widen the vocal. Sometimes I use 2 lots of limiting, and then the MDW, that's actually got nothing on there, so I'm wasting my CPU there. What was I doing here? Yeah, little boosts, and then taking the bottom out. And then I've got lots of little parallel sends here. That's one thing I like to do, is get an 1176. There's a Waves version as well of this, and just really compress the signal and then mix that back in. So if you listen to this.
Yo, it's that big head honcho banging on my chest like a silverback from Congo. Yo, make space up in the room because you don't know. You up on the mic, I got the mad, yo, the crazy flows, hey, yo.
Just a really like compressed version, but just slowly like bring that back into the original signal. I mean, all you guys probably know all this stuff, but it's like it's amazing like how much stuff you need to make it like sit in the mix. Yeah, there's some more effects like the RMX 16. That's probably adding a bit of more chorus sort of stuff. And then Time Cube is adding more, I think. Man, it's crazy. All these are like, that's what I mean. Like, it seems like it's too much in it, but when it was in the mix, I was feeling like, nah, this is not feeling like exciting enough. So, yeah, it's amazing how much stuff gets used to make that vocal. It's probably because it's competing with so much else in the track. Like the vocals earlier on didn't have as much processing in the breakdown. That was the majority of the vocals there. There's lots of other little bits and pieces that I mean, like I say, like it took ages to like work out which vocal worked where, and like I had lots of like haze and yeahs and like, you know, just little things that are like excellent for certain sections.